How does a four-generation family survive on just $60 a month? That's the reality for the Silva Guerra family in Santiago de Cuba, Cuba's second-largest city, as documented by the New York Times. Adrian Silva Guerra is a 32-year-old electrical repairman. Most nights he waits for the power to flicker back on, and when it does, he rushes into his workshop to solder broken television parts by lamplight, salvaging what he can before the electricity cuts out again, sometimes just 2 hours later. "I'm a slave to the current," he says, haggard from sleep deprivation. This nightly routine is a snapshot of Cuba's deepening humanitarian crisis, the worst the country has faced since the revolution nearly 7 decades ago. Since the start of this year, an effective American oil blockade, layered on top of a decades-old U.S. trade embargo and a wave of new sanctions, has crippled the Cuban state's ability to keep power running and goods moving. The family gets by on a combined income of less than $60 a month, shared among 4 generations living under one roof: Adrian, his wife Analides, their 2 young children, his parents Cecil Guerra Breeze and Luis Silva Aldana, and his grandmother Zoe. Luis, 64, works as a primary school teacher. Cecil, 52, times her mornings around the electricity, since a local privately owned bakery can only fire its ovens when the power is on. When bread is available, she buys 100 small rolls at 7 cents each, then walks the streets of Santiago de Cuba reselling them for 9 cents apiece, turning a thin margin into money for the family's lunch. Journalist Ed Augustine and photographer Lizette Poole Gonzalez spent nearly 2 days with the family in May, witnessing conditions the family says are among the worst they've ever endured. The Trump administration has tightened its pressure on Havana, demanding political and economic change, while the Cuban government's own repression and failed economic policies have compounded the damage from the long-standing embargo. With state infrastructure crumbling, ordinary Cubans are leaning more than ever on the island's long tradition of community solidarity just to survive, sharing scraps of electricity, informally trading goods, and helping neighbors fill gaps the government can no longer cover. That solidarity is what keeps families like the Silva Guerras afloat: a bakery running on borrowed hours of power, a mother reselling bread rolls door to door, a son repairing circuit boards in the middle of the night just to make ends meet. There's no clear end in sight. The oil blockade continues to choke off fuel, sanctions keep stacking up, and everyday Cubans are absorbing the fallout. The Silva Guerra family is just one household living through a much larger crisis unfolding across the island, one where survival depends less on the state and more on each other. That's the story from Santiago de Cuba. Thanks for listening.